this is what negligence led to.
Tell me about this.
That is my mom laying with a ventilator in her mouth, blood behind her head, blood coming out of her eyes and her nose, after she jumped at Newton County Jail. She was at Newton County Jail because Ashley works at Walton County Jail. Newton County Jail's overcrowded. They had cots laid out on the floor, about 13 of them. She was in one on the cots. Everybody else was locked up in cells. She gets up and she goes and jumps off the rail. Jumps over the rail, goes up to a second-story balcony where she's not supposed to be. Second-story balcony where people are watching her go up, and she jumps. She lands on a seat and falls back on her head. She had 3 fractures, a broken neck, blood everywhere.
So basically, due to the negligence of Walton County Sheriff's Department and the jail, based on medical history, inconsistencies, not forwarding paperwork to Newton County Jail,
this is
our result.
And that's not even the result, the end result. The end result, my mom is on Highway 78 at Hillhaven, 6 feet under the ground. That's the end result. This is what happened because of the negligence. The end result, I don't have a mother. My mother's gone.
The kid's no grandmother.
Yeah, I have 3 kids. 3 kids who she spent lots of time with, especially my oldest. I was 18 when I had him. How do you think I made it through that? It was her. She potty trained him. She taught him his ABCs. He's at the top of his class now. You know why? Because of her. She gave him that head start that he needed. My kids have no grandma. I have no mother. And can you believe someone even said to me and threw it up in my face how I talked to my mom? I was hard on her. I was really, really hard on her because I knew the potential she had. I've argued with her, but you give me a child that hasn't argued with their parents, that hasn't talked ugly to their parents, and I will write you a check for everything that's in my bank account and his. Because it's not going to happen. But for someone to throw it up in my face about what I did when there's a whole system here that has failed her, but you want to throw it up in my face about how I talked to her and how I talked to her and the fact that I wouldn't go get her Saturday night. But you have years and years and years of this same person that you're probably going to go vote for led to this. You know, I lived about 2 or 3 houses down from him when he first got sheriff. My mom, over the moon, loved him. He's great for sheriff. We're in a safer neighborhood. We lived in Green Acres. We're in a safer neighborhood now. We have a sheriff in town. You know, it's all good. She was all about him. And look what he gave her. He physically didn't walk and push her over a rail.
Right.
He physically didn't withhold medicine from her. He physically didn't not do the paperwork himself, but everybody up under him did. And that all falls back to him. When you ask for a position like that, you're asking to be responsible for everything that happens inside that jail.
Correct.
You're responsible for it. Admit it. Admit your wrongdoings. Don't slap a lie on it and cover it up.
So what you're saying is zero accountability.
Yeah.
From everybody underneath him.
Do you think I would have listened to a word that came out of his mouth if I would have asked him what happened to my mama? No. You know why? Because he can't even keep a story straight from the Walton Tribune to Fox 5.
Okay.
You can pull up YouTube videos, you can pull up Fox 5, and then you can pull up the Walton Tribune. You might have to pay 75 cents to read it online. But there's inconsistencies there. So no, I don't trust somebody like that to tell me what goes on in that jail. And you don't have to tell me anything that goes on in the jail now, that it took me forever, but I have medical records. I have video. I know what happened.
As we're sitting here talking, would you care to share some of the video?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
It's overcrowded everywhere, and she's coming off of this cot right here. There she is standing up.
But again, we knew that she had issues.
Mm-hmm.
The boyfriend says she has suicidal tendencies.
She's arguing.
The paperwork shows that she has a history of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Had Newton County got this, you think she would have been out free?
No. And she just takes off like it's nothing.
to the respect of the family, we're not going to show the actual footage of going over the rail. However, this is where Linda does commit suicide after being told numerous times to several people that she has mental problems. She's on medicine, she's medicated. However, no one took the time to make sure that Newton County received the proper information so that she would not be in an open bay and able to harm herself.
And what makes it even worse is the night that she went to jail, August the 21st, I came all the way from Eatonton here. I spoke to some deputies, asked someone to go with me to get her medicine so she would have her medicine.
And they told you what?
That I needed a court order, but they couldn't do that for me. That I needed a court order to go out there and get her medicine.
Okay, and when I believe you told me you spoke to someone directly and he told you something.
Yeah. I walked over to where they get in their cars at or whatever, and I spoke to someone. They told me to call the non-emergency line, call the jail and ask to be transferred to the non-emergency line. So I called the jail, got transferred, and whoever that girl was that answered the phone at the 911 communication center was, we can't do that. Like, just attitude. Like, we're not doing that. You have to have a court order, blah, 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 blah. I'll have someone call you. Like, after arguing with her, I finally got someone to call me. So I leave. I sit there for hours waiting. I leave, about an hour or two. I leave. I'm on the way home. About 9:30, my phone rings and it pops up on my phone, Atlanta, Georgia. So I knew that it was probably a deputy from this area calling me, so I answer it. And he's like, well, I'm at Clearview Regional with a rape case right now. We don't have the manpower to take you to get her medicine, nor can we do it without a court order.
Did he ever say that, okay, well, we'll try to appease the situation and get someone to go with you and see would the boyfriend voluntarily give you the medicine, being that you know him?
Nope. A deputy wasn't offered to me at all.
So just told you, just flat out,
No.
we don't have the manpower, we don't do that.
We don't do that, we can't do that, we won't do that.
Okay.
It's sad because you have somebody that needs her medicine.
Right.
Not only was it her bipolar medicine, high blood pressure, on intake at Walton County Jail, her blood pressure was 140/84. No, that was on intake at Newton County Jail. But you know why? Because she had been at Walton County Jail for a day and a half with no blood pressure medicine. Her blood pressure was already high, with a pain level of 7, and her blood pressure's high. They even asked her at Newton County Jail how she felt about the situation at intake. She said, I don't feel good at all. So she wasn't complying with Newton County like she was Walton County. She was being nice at Walton County and cooperative at Walton County because Ashley worked there.
This is your mom.
Yes. The last thing that she got to look at was a brick wall. The last thing that she did was this.
What's this?
This could have been prevented. People are going to say, oh, it's Newton County's fault. They should have had her in the cell. No. You know why they didn't have her in the cell? Because they weren't given the proper documentation. They weren't given the history of her. She's not known in Newton County. She's known in Walton County.
Right, which is all you had to do is take a clipboard full of paper and say, here's copies of our records.
Just even our intake from yesterday. Here's copies of our intake. Here you go, have it. This could have been prevented. The sad person scale that they do to screen our inmates for suicide risk, my mother scored a 2. A 2. And it should have been a 9.
Based off of all the indicators.
Yeah. Age being one of them. If you're under 19 or over 45, you get a point. Depression, 2 points. Past suicidal thoughts or ideations, that was happened in their jail.
Right.
You're not going to tell me you don't remember that. And if that much stuff like that is happening in that jail, that you can't even remember one person from the next, there's a problem. And if you can't do a record search, if you can't take the allotted time that you need to thoroughly do your job, there's another problem. Are they rushed? Are they rushed doing their job? Are they just not doing their job? I mean, what is it?
Again, no accountability.
Yeah, and it still doesn't fall on them.
It falls under supervisors.
Yeah. First.
It falls on the chain of command,
It all
including the
goes to
sheriff,
chain of
because if you're not actively involved in every department throughout your agency, how do you know what to hold accountable or who to hold accountable?
And Mama's been arrested by multiple agencies. Social Circle, I think, is the one who arrested her in April of 2015, I believe. Walton County arrests her here. You know, it's like you have, and then you get on TV and you see this mess of a media about how this man doesn't trust someone to run a city police department. But this man had people to back him up. There's people that thought he could run this county.
Right.
There's a reason he's still chief of police. But you want to get on TV and act like a freaking 2-year-old, throw your temper tantrum, kick your arms and scream, and sling mud on people about somebody trying to do what's right. And that's what gets me, is the blinders that these people have on about this man and this department, is because this is what happens in this jail. You see a freshly cut bush and a nice brick building and pretty barbed wire fences and inmates working and inmates smiling, but you don't see what happens when you walk through that door and that door slams locked behind you. And until you're arrested, you won't see it. Even the people that work there, even the people that work in the jail, they don't see every little thing that happens.
Right.
Statements made.
Well, that's what he's going to say. Well, I don't work in the jail. I'm at the admin portion. I don't see what goes on in the jail. That's why I have supervisors to tend to that.
No. We can go back to the old bingo roller if we need to. What do you need to check on today? You can't sit in a desk, like sit at a chair behind a desk and expect this county to think you're doing your job. You can't not patrol the streets yourself. As if I lived in Walton County, I would want him to be patrolling these streets at least once, maybe a month, to see what his deputies are dealing with. He lets them go, feeds them to the wolves, and doesn't even know what they're dealing with on a daily basis unless he so happens to ride by there on his way home or to a bar or wherever he's going. That's what he sees of this road. Ride with one of your deputies one day. Just involve yourself with these employees. Make them feel valued. Make sure.
You would want this from a sheriff, from a current sheriff.
This is what I would want to happen in my community, period. Make sure they're doing their job. Watch them on arrest. Watch them on stops. And then follow the inmate in. Go in with booking. Of course they're going to do their job while you're in your face, but as Fox 5 showed, he has this huge camera of all these things. Is that in his office where he can see it?
Right.
Do you get to see everything? Because he showed every criminal, every blinder he had.
We see, but...
So when somebody gets jumped behind a stairwell or something, guess what? Guess whose fault that is? His, again, because he put it on TV.
That is correct. At least here we can hear versus his is...
Yeah. Newton County has audio. You can hear some people... You can hear this lady saying, don't jump. You can hear the guard saying, inmate, stop.
Which would go back to...
Which makes me feel better.
The 17-year-old that was tased naked. Mm-hmm. We would have been able to hear what that 17-year-old was saying.
What really happened.
And what went on, correct.
Instead of being he say, she say, you have solid proof. And that's my thing. You are costing this county so much money by not allowing the proper video, the proper security for your deputies, for yourself, and for the taxpayer money. I know people that live in this county, have lived and worked in this county for their entire lives, longer than I've been alive, that pay for the bull crap that he does.
Right.
They don't want to pay taxes and see it thrown in the trash. You're $6 million under budget. Let's fix this security system, this outdated security system. You're $6 million under budget. let's build a mental health facility. Not even a whole facility. Like, let's add that onto our plan of care for these people who come in here with these diagnoses.
Right.
Let's add a withdrawal wing. Because let's face it, Walton County, especially Monroe, it's horrible with drug addicts. I've been around it so much my life, like knowing like what a drug addict looks like, that I can spot one a mile away. And yeah, that might be stereotyping, but I know what I'm talking about. Let's fix the problem. Use your informant if you want to use an informant. Turn in, get the bigger fish. But after that, you can't let that informant off to go do whatever they please. Go buy more drugs. Go do what they need to do. You have to follow up with a plan of care. Okay, they need mental health. They need rehab. They need an addiction regimen. They need something here in place instead of throwing these people out on the street. The diversion center, that before that got shut down, I thought that was like a good thing. You know, it was like a transitional thing from people going to being in jail long term to transition into the real world. People died in there. It shut down.
We're going to, I want to fast forward this a little bit to where we can.
Back just a little bit. All right, here.
Yes.
She's laying on the floor. The guard's standing there, and that's where the nurse is. Right here.
This is after everything had already transpired. Now we have inmates down here panicking. However, the guard is still there.
And you can see the people looking
out the
through
windows. Based off of, we already knew your mom had suicidal thoughts. Mm-hmm. Based off of not accurately recording documentation, not transferring documentation. Walton County Sheriff's Office is responsible for an incident like this, no one else. And it goes back to the leadership, because no one's following up to make sure that these deputies are crossing their T's, dotting their I's.
And crossing their own T's and their own I's, not forging people's signatures.
Correct. I'm going to ask you this, and I know I'm a firm believer in God, and Mom's listening. What would you like to say to Mom?
That I'm sorry. I'm sorry that somebody had the chance to do this to you. I sat back for years and watched it happen. I watched and did nothing. Some of my family did nothing. I can't let it go because this is my mom. If I only had one more chance to argue with her, if I only had one more chance to talk to her, one more chance to tell her everything would be okay, maybe things would have been different. I'm sorry that I wasn't old enough when she first started getting in trouble to help her. I was young, really young. I wasn't old enough to help her, but they should have helped her. If you would have been hard on her from the start, and she wouldn't have been here. It's hard for me to say anything to her because it's not her fault. It's not our fault at all. It's theirs. They did this to my mama.
Had they intervened and got her the help, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today talking about this incident.
And I don't want to hear the garbage about funding because it's been advertised everywhere, $6 million under budget.
It comes in under budget every year.
Mm-hmm. So utilize it. Don't come in under budget. Come in at budget. Come in over budget. As long as you're doing your job, I wouldn't even care if you went over budget.
Right.
It's just, it's sad because there's people who don't have the knowledge to know how to do an open records request and get this information. There's people who don't know how to approach a situation like this. And what's even worse is that they get away with it. The officer that was told that my mom was suicidal still patrols the streets of this county. Your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, your cousin, your kids can be suicidal. This man be approached about it and told that they're suicidal, and he's going to do nothing. this, no reprimand, no, okay, it was an accident, I screwed up, how do we fix this with his boss? No apology. And that would even make it better to me. I'm sorry.
We messed
Everything
up.
was going wrong, but we messed up, and we really messed up. But we're sorry. That would be enough. That would be enough to make me ride back to Eatonton and not ever have to look at this place again. But if you think that I'm going to go home and tuck my tail and be quiet and shut my mouth, you're crazy. That's why I'm not in a full-fledged lawsuit now.
And rightfully you shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm not going to get a check and a non-disclosure agreement, and you're not going to shut me up about my mama. I'll go to work Monday through Friday, and on Saturday and Sunday be blasting this story if I have to.
I can't speak for Joe Chapman or that command staff. But I will, sitting here in front of you, guarantee you, once elected, that's not going to happen to anybody's mom.
It shouldn't.
We're going to take more avenues in different directions and try to get people help. And I am truly sorry for the loss of your mom.
Thank you.
If there's anything we can do in the meantime to help you, please reach out. Don't hesitate. So if there's anything you would like to actually tell people, let people know about, this is your moment. Just whatever you're feeling from your heart, let them know. To me, it says today's emergency was ours, but it could be yours tomorrow. Just because
It's not only her that it happens to. It happens to people. There was somebody who jumped in Walton County Jail a couple of months ago, broke her legs. This could be anybody's family. It could be your family. A pretty smile and a billboard is not the truth. When it's backed up with just a smile and an empty promise to do right, that's not the truth. The truth is in the paper, in the paperwork, in the lack of attention, in the videos, in what we should have, body cameras on every police officer. The truth is not coming from this county right now. This man that leads this county, these people who are responsible for our inmates, it's not happening. Be careful. It could be your family next.
early voting is starting as of Monday. A lot of people will try to attack this as, well, it's because voting started. It has nothing to do with early voting, late voting. These are facts. These are deaths. These are moms, sisters, brothers, dads that are affected. These are families that are now torn. So again, I ask that you really think about the decision when you decide to go to that sheriff box and check either Joe Chapman or write in Mike Sledge. What we sat here about and discussed was under the watch of Joe Chapman. How many more of these is it going to take? Let's wake up, Walton County. Let's make a change. Let's make a difference. Thank you.